Hey there, how's it going? I'm Brian Pickle, and we are, of course, back for another episode of Pickleton this week. And I think from here on out, I'm going to do City Skylines 1 one week, and then City Skylines 2 the next week, and kind of alternate. But I haven't made any formal decisions on that, but I think that's kind of where I'm going to go going forward until we get a little bit more content for City Skylines 2. That way I can, make sure that we have enough of this city to last us until some of those new things come out. And eventually I would love to start a brand new city, but I kind of have ideas for the first full DLC, the Bridges and Ports. So I might have to rearrange a couple things and rethink some stuff for that. But that's neither here nor there for today. We're focusing on something totally different, and we're in the city in Pickleton, and we're going to work on some expansion. So let me get out of this view really fast and take a look at the city. It's a little bit gloomy here today in Pickleton, but that's no problem. So I talked about in the last episode how the post-sorting facility doesn't seem to show that it's working. And again, that could possibly just be like a bug in the system where it's working functionally, it just doesn't visually show it here. But there is also another thing that I neglected to do that could be contributing to the problem. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely needs to be resolved either way. So we're going to do that first, and that is, if we take a look in our communications folder here, or tab, and our mailboxes, we don't have any. Basically anywhere, except for where we first put them in. So we're going to go through really quickly and set that up for the area that we already have built. Okay, so now that that's set up, hopefully this will start working. We'll keep an eye on it, but otherwise I'm not really too worried about it. If it is a bug, it will be resolved eventually. And I forgot again about the music. I do that every time. Turn that off. But yeah, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. It doesn't seem to be causing any problems that it's not working. And so, I mean, unreliable mail service used to be at -15, and it's only at -5 now. So I feel like it's working, it's just not showing that it is, and I'm gonna just have to be okay with that. So I believe I mentioned that in the end of last episode, what I would like to do moving forward is kind of move into this area that we sort of set up with a little bit of road network here and get in some good old-fashioned residential expansion. So we only really have this kind of area that has any low-density North American housing, and they're not very happy. So ideally, these residences would want to be upgraded. And speaking of, this has been here for like ages, and I don't want them there. That would be a terrible place to live right next to the highway. And I forget to actually remove them every single time I open the game. But anyway, so we'll get rid of that really fast. But, so other than that, we don't really have a lot of low-density North American residences. In fact, we don't even have the Rock Musician Mansion unlocked, which we can see we have 1,800 out of 2,500 cells already. But, like, that's not very much. That's, like, usually, like, one of the first things that you unlock when playing the game, because it's pretty easy to hit. And we haven't gotten there yet. So we will today, though, for sure. We might even hit the second one, but we'll see. Maybe not. Media goods produced. It says 0 out of 10,000, but it's checked off. Whatever, City Skylines. We'll work with it. Who cares? Doesn't matter. So, but that also, unrelated, sort of. That does remind me that I also added another mod to the game. So we have the line tool, and we also have Legacy Flavor, and then we have the Find Stuff mod. So we're going to play around with that a little bit today. I've poked around in it, but not extensively. So far, the only thing that I don't love about it is that, like, not everything has a picture, but I imagine that will come with time. It's a pretty new mod, but it allows us to add props to the game and kind of have a lot more creativity and freedom to decorate things in a way that we want to. So I'm really excited to play around with that today. But before we can get into it, we need to deal with this rain, or is it snow? I'm not really sure. That's coming in here, and we need to we need to fill out some of these roadway networks. And I want to go pretty heavily gridded through this entire area. And one thing that we have to keep in mind is, first of all, there is pollution coming from here. So if we go into our air pollution tab, it does blow directly over this area. And so we want to make sure that we keep kind of this area a little bit clear of residences. So we can put some offices, some parks maybe even, and commercial buildings to kind of help buffer that zone out a little bit. But the biggest issue that we're going to run into today with zoning, low density specifically, is our land value. As you can see, it's a little bit out of control. So it's actually gotten even worse since the last time I looked at it somehow, and I haven't really done anything. Well, I did post mailboxes, so maybe that was it. Anyway, we're at $107,000 per cell average land value, and that is going to... I have no idea why this area is so high. There's nothing here yet, so that's interesting. I do know that there is the common assumption that this is bug-related. I'm not necessarily saying that it's not a bug. It definitely seems like it's a problem. But I think it is supposed to be sort of by design, but I don't think it's working quite right either. So, because there's nothing in here. There's no reason why the land value should be this high. But you're going to have problems doing low-density zoning in areas with such high land value. They're just not going to be able to afford it, and they're going to want to be of at least medium to high density. So we'll try to see what we can get through with this. But for now, what we need to do is get some road networks drawn in. So again, I want to stay pretty heavily gridded. So I'm going to jump into a bit of a time lapse while I kind of set this area up, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so that took a little bit longer than anticipated. So, these road tools can be amazing. They can be really amazing. They can also be a massive pain in the ass. And because if you don't get it just right, or if you have just the wrong little bit of connection made, or, you're not on the right node exactly, it can give you a little bit of problems. So I'm pretty sure something in here is not on the right angle, but I don't really care. It looks fine enough for me. I think it's still going to work just fine, so we're going to roll with it. And over here, what I want to do is grab a little bit of an area here with our 2-lane road and kind of connect it out to this other kind of local road over here. I think if we bring it out just a little bit and then give it a curve, get it nice. Turn all of our snappings back on now, and we can get a nice curve going, hopefully. It's a little bit better than just like a hard right angle, so I'm okay with that. And again, so I put up a little bit of parking lots over here, and they're all facing this sort of alleyway road over here. And the reason why is because I want to create, like I said, a buffer of some offices and commercial type things in this area, both as a way to like buffer from the noise of the train track. I don't know if this produces actual like noise pollution. I guess we can check it out. It doesn't look like it comes from the track itself, but obviously the highway is loud. And then again, we have all this pollution kind of in this area. This is specifically noise pollution, I believe, but also we have it coming from here, like I said before. So we want to create a little bit of a buffer. So that's kind of where we're going to go with a little bit of commercial zoning. And it's just kind of going to sit kind of along the back here. And we want a little bit facing like the main road here, and then a lot in here as well, and some offices and things. And then of course, the parking lot so that people have a place to come park here. Because again, we're going to have this area pretty zoned up with low density is my goal. We're going to try to get it as low as we can. And we're going to have them we're going to have the commercial focused very much along the main roads and have very sparing, if any at all, commercial or office zoning within kind of where our residential areas will go. So this is going to be just a little bit of an office park, kind of office and commercial park back here. Again, for a little bit of that buffer. And then we'll do some trees and detailing and stuff like that. And one of the really cool things that we have with the Find Stuff mod is we can actually find some fences. So I think that's in props and then fencing. And then we have these industrial pieces that you can place. Unfortunately, you do have to place them by hand. There's no like line tool mod with these. But we can kind of create a little bit of a barrier against the rail line by putting up a couple of these. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and place like one just so we know that we can do that. I'm trying to think how close do I want it to it. So I guess kind of just at the very back of these buildings, we can extend this fence out from here. And then connect it, just kind of all the way along. And then we'll make sure that we put some trees and whatnot in between the fence and the actual train track. But just to give you an idea of kind of what that can look like, we can go ahead and do that. But as it is quite tedious, I'll leave that for a little bit of a detailing time lapse. And we are already getting into winter, so that's pretty exciting. Depending on your viewpoint, I suppose. But anyway, so let's try to get in a little bit of zoning and let's see what the road looks like. Yeah, so it doesn't want to be anywhere here. So we will have to work with that. But over here, it looks like we are good. And I'm trying to decide if I want to be annoying about the zoning or just kind of do it a little bit free-for-all. And I'm a little bit inclined to do more of a free-for-all in this area and just kind of zone it all up. And so I'm gonna start with that and we'll see how it all goes. And there we have our rock musician mansion, so we're all set with that as well. And I think for now we can work with this and see how it goes with this for now. And then of course, since we are starting a new kind of residential area, we are going to want to keep in mind some parks as well. So we have, of course, just the usual array of parks. So we're going to kind of litter these around a little ways. We don't want the parks too close to the street here because, again, we've made this into a highway now. So we're going to go ahead and kind of focus things back in this direction. So we'll throw a small park back here. We definitely want a dog park somewhere, maybe kind of in here. Some small playgrounds in different places. I don't think we want a campsite in here. We could actually maybe have a campsite. No, that's too close to the train. I don't like that. The large parks are a little bit too large, but the large playground is fine. So we can place that maybe kind of along one of these main roads here. One of our local roads. And so all the housing should be mostly focused on our alleyway roads here, and then everything else kind of on these main, more local roads. And then these are obviously like very much arterial roads with few connections on them, which is kind of the idea that I want. Now in here, I think it would be really fun to do some custom park space over here using some of the new find stuff tools that we have. But we do also have a couple park assets that I would like to place here. And one of them I'm thinking is either the water park, or I think there's a unique building that so there's a community pool, or there's a water park. And I think a water park sounds kind of fun to put in here. And we can place this right back here. And then, of course, we'll want a little bit of parking for this area as well. And I would like to keep it focused on to Elm Street here instead of off the main arterial road. So we'll do 2 of these kind of right here. And then we can zone up a little bit of this area as well, which it all is facing Summit Street, so that's kind of perfect. That's exactly what I want. And I don't want too close to this intersection, so we'll just place maybe one other building kind of on the edge there. But just because of the nature of this intersection and how it's like a little bit weird, we have the tram coming through, we have this, we have these 2 streets meeting up, we have the arterial going into a smaller street, which actually, you know, I'm thinking about it, might be a good place for a roundabout as well, just to kind of ease that congestion. But we want to keep this area relatively clear because I don't want people stopping and starting in these areas of this street. So we want to keep things a little bit further down. So we can go ahead, and I'm trying to think if we are going to do we have the ability to put low density here? I feel like it's not going to zone in if we try to place it here. So maybe fill up these guys here. Now let's see how much we can get away with. These guys are gonna spawn in, but we can always put a little bit of kind of like medium density row housing stuff because this area seems fine for that. And we can maybe even put just a touch of some small mixed zoning along here with some commercial assets, and maybe even an office one as well. And that'll create a nice buffer kind of like of this area to separate the 2 areas from like, you know, this loud kind of main road corridor. And we want to kind of trickle the buildings out this way so that there's like less stuff coming through here. Because again, this is going to kind of lead out of the city, essentially. So it looks like everything is zoning in fine. We'll go ahead and put this on 3 speed so that we can get things going a little bit faster. And I think it's time we find a place to put our signature building that we unlocked. So we did unlock, of course, the Rock Musician Mansion. And I'm trying to think. So this is considered obviously low density as well, and it would prefer to be in a low density area. So I'm thinking if we put it back here and we just knock out this street, we can give it its own sort of block. And this will be just for this house. So we'll put that there. And of course it gives a couple boosts of +2 well-being within 500 meters. So that's good news for all the people that kind of live really close to this. They'll be happy to be next to that. And then again, we want to be pretty sparse with our zoning in this area. So we'll do just a little bit of office, maybe one last big commercial asset kind of coming out of town. What would be great is if it was like a gas station here, but which we can do that with the Find Stuff mod. We can actually place individual buildings. But I would like to try to stay away from doing that kind of thing for as long as possible. I do want to keep the game pretty lowly modded, you know, just moderately modded. and use the game as intended as much as possible. I really just want fine stuff for props. I'm not really trying to like change the functionality of the game too much. So we're gonna leave it with that for now. And then through here, I think what we can definitely get away with is some medium density row housing. So I think along the back, we can probably do some 3 deep ones here on both sides and run a path kind of through the middle. And it's been a while since we've really played around with the row housing, but again, if you're zoning this up, you want to try to keep the edges cleared and like zone those in last so that your buildings grow in the right directions. Hopefully these guys will be okay with any of the pollution coming through, and we'll, again, we'll create a little bit of that buffer with, a small plaza would be nice kind of in there, but I don't think it's going to fit. But we can probably make our own. But we'll throw another small park over here. But yeah, so you don't want them to grow on the wrong streets, so if you just leave the edges clear, then you can zone them in later. So we're going to do that kind of along this entire area here. And actually, I think I'm going to remove this one here and create kind of some custom park space in here during the detailing time lapse with a little bit of the props and things that we have through the Find Stuff mod. So I'm wondering if, as we zone up some of this, whether or not this will find itself more suitable to low density, but it doesn't look like that's happening. But I'm curious what happens if we just zone it in anyway. I think we do have enough need for it that it might still grow in. And the suitability might actually change if we just fill it like that anyway. Let's keep the main area like kind of up here a little bit away from that low density. But, oh, not in there either, because I want this to be all for that signature building. But we can do it all through here. I think we'll be fine. In here, I think that's fine there. And just one more row of this, like that. And we can, of course, probably do this stuff as well. That should be... you know what? Here's one thing that I want to do. I'll correct the zoning on this side so that it all kind of faces on the smaller alleyway road. And then we'll zone in, because that would be kind of nice to have it all facing that way. And then we can keep the road coming onto the highway free of houses. I think that's probably a smart thing to do. I think that'll help us out in the long run. And probably do the same thing over here as well. Then we'll zone up this. Here we are. And it looks like some buildings are already leveling up, so that's nice to see. Yeah, so we have a couple leveling up. We've got level 2s coming in. So these guys are pretty happy. I'm glad to see that. And so I think what I'd like to do is continue zoning up this area. And I want to keep this relatively low density as well, going along this way. And we'll kind of taper it off as we get up to the main road here. And the same thing we'll do back here. I think that'll about do for our low density stuff. And then through here, we can continue on with our medium density zoning. So we'll do a couple more medium density buildings, like regular medium density. Just to kind of scattered about. And then again, we'll go through and fill with our row housing. And then we'll throw in a couple regular parks again as well. So I think the small playground, could do one over here. And we probably want another dog park for this area. So I think... Sorry if you can also hear there's a garbage truck outside. It's very loud and I apologize. But there's really just nothing I can do about it. They gotta pick up the garbage. So I'm going to go ahead and place the dog park through here, I think, is probably a good spot. And I think we're good there. I think that should be enough. And we can actually zone up this area a little bit as well with some commercial as we come out of like this larger industrial park. And just a little bit of office too through here. Nothing too aggressive, but just a little bit. And then we'll do, of course, some trees. So they're waiting for hearse, which does remind me that we should probably extend the operating district and also maybe create a district. So you know what? I'm going to do that first. Let me create a district for a couple of these areas. Okay, so we've set a little bit of an operating district for that hospital. And it looks like we're having some issue in here with things growing. Not really sure what the problem is. We seem to have plenty of demand for this kind of housing in here. My guess is that the zoning is focused on the wrong road. So what I'm going to do is see if we can draw out a path this way. And same thing on this side. And see, yeah, so it's giving us some issues. Let's see if we can do one back here and recorrect it so that it's on the right road. And then there we go. Except for I don't want those. I wanted row houses. My bad. But okay, so that was the issue there. So we'll do the same thing on this side. The zoning can be tricky. I'm sure you all are aware of this by now. If you've played the game for any length of time, you're probably aware that it can be a little bit finicky. But luckily, it's not super difficult to figure out what the problem is and correct it. It's just a little bit more tedious than you might want. So let's go ahead and fill in some of these missing areas on these sides. Go through here. And fill up the rest of our row homes. I wonder if we'll unlock another row house building soon. Because I know that we have, if I'm not mistaken, we have one low density or medium density row housing for the North American district unlocked. Like one of our signature buildings for that kind of zoning type. I'd be interested to see if we can get another one unlocked. I guess we'll have to check out exactly how much space or how many more buildings we need. I know that they start to become, quite difficult to unlock. They require a lot of building types, and sometimes they require level 5 building types, so it gets more and more difficult, but that's to be expected. I mean, there's got to be some sort of challenge in the game, right? So let's, out of curiosity, I kind of want to see. So we have the residential, we have Walter Pines, which was the first one that we unlocked, and then this one, yeah. So we're not even close. 2,700 out of 5,000 cells. So we're about halfway there. That's fine. We're not going to get there today. No worries. Not a problem. But other than that, we got to zone up this area as well. But I'm going to leave that to a little bit of a detailing time-lapse. But before we jump into that, I want to give a little bit of a preview or not like a tutorial, but show people a little bit about how the Find Stuff mod works if you're unfamiliar with it. Because you can do kind of a lot of stuff with it. So we're going to get rid of everything that's already in this area. And of course, it being in the winter is probably going to present some challenges to us, but we'll see. So, what I'd like to do is create 2 custom plazas in here. And so what we can do is, in our Find Stuff mod, we can actually filter through, I think it's under miscellaneous. Yeah, so we have textures here. So we have our agricultural surface, concrete, grass, landfill, all kinds of cool stuff. And these ones kind of look nice, these tiles. So what we can do is, it works the same way district tools work. So if you grab one of the tools for the surfaces, you just drag out an area and it'll fill it. And I think it'll show above the snow. Yeah, it will. So that's kind of nice. And then if you want it, see how this area is not quite all the way at the edge, you can pull it a little bit further. You can always adjust them afterwards without having to delete it and start all over again. You can just pull them out just the way that you can with kind of any other surface kind of things in the game, or the district creation tools and things like that you use for industrial buildings and things of that nature. So we're going to do the same thing on this side, and we're going to make another nice large plaza. And it would be nice, of course, if these functioned in reality, and you could actually see people kind of walking around and doing things, but we cannot. So, and then in here, if we just get rid of all of our categories and we just go to all, we can actually just search things by name. Of course, you have to kind of know exactly what it is that you're looking for. So we're going to go with fountain to start, because I would kind of like to have a fountain in the middle. And it'll give you all kinds of options. The ones that already exist, you can see pictures of, but like this is one of those unique assets. That's not what we want. Otherwise, again, no pictures, but you can just, pick on them, click them, see what they look like, and just test things out. So like this is exactly the kind of thing that I want. And I want 2 of these right in the middle. So one on this side and one on this side. And then, I think it would be kind of cool to do is if we go back into our, which was it? Props, I think, or miscellaneous. We get like a concrete surface, something like, or pavement. Let's do pavement. We can make a little bit of a square out of this area. Ooh, we can't. Can't do it on top of other ones. Thought you could. Bummer. So that would be a little bit obnoxious. I was going to do it like have some walkways through here with some of the pavement, which, let's see, if we get rid of these, we can test this out a little bit. So let's undo that. And just to undo them, you click on the right-hand corner and you right-click, like whatever, node you want to get rid of. So if we do this, and of course you can't measure them either, so you kind of just have to it's a little bit of guesswork, but we can adjust these as we see fit. So we'll go ahead like this, and I think that'll do. And then we'll create a nice little square area here in the center. Again, we just kind of got to eyeball it because it doesn't have any measurement tools, but we can make it work because it's overlapping. Yeah. Oops. Try that again. A little bit finicky, I won't lie, but the results I think are going to look really nice. Okay. So we have that. And do I want this in a little bit more like this? Have it right up against the edge, I guess. Kind of how we have it on the other side. Okay, and then from here, we'll do the same thing. We want to try to get it as close to the same area as possible. So we'll do that. Oops. Degrees, we'll go over, and of course we can always adjust the sizes afterwards to get them to line up how we want them to. So we'll go ahead and move this one in just a little ways like this, and the same thing on this side. And then from here we can actually just drag these corners out like this, get them to snap at our angles perfectly, and we'll do that and this. So that's how you can kind of create a little custom area. And then if we go back in here again and we find that tile surface that I had the first time, so I don't think we can, let's click on it. There we go. I don't think we can just click and drag it because it's going to conflict. What we can do is draw it in the middle of these sections. So we'll grab a corner and fill in these extra areas. And of course, we can go back through and like kind of finalize everything and get it to look exactly how we want it at the end. But in general, this is just an amazing tool because of all the things that you can do with it. And there's one more thing with the surfaces that I do want to show you before we kind of jump into that time lapse. Because that's really all I know about the Find Stuff mod. You just kind of have to play around with it, and I would highly suggest that you do. It's a lot of fun. But another thing that you can do with these surfaces is once you have anything selected, it doesn't matter if you have the matching one selected, you can extend existing surfaces. So for here example, if we grab this node here, it'll drag out both of these surfaces and just extend that concrete. And we'll do the same thing with the grass. And we can make this building go all the way up to the corner instead. And we can drag this out as well and fill it. And then we could do our own sort of little detailing in here. We can maybe grab a small fountain or something. Let's see. I don't know everything that is in here. So, oh, that's way too big. Let's see. There's a couple small fountains. Maybe we can put like a small one in there. A nice little feature for this apartment complex, and just cool things like that. So it's a really powerful tool, and if you are at all interested in getting mods in your game and playing around with them, this is a great one to do. And speaking of, I do have a video on the channel. It's quite old now, and it might be a little bit outdated, but it works just the same still. I have a video on how to use the Thunderstore if you are interested in mods, and I'll leave that kind of in the description below, and hopefully I'll have it pop up here for you so you can just click on it really quick if you want to. But otherwise, that is going to do it for the main part of the build. I think we're going to jump into a detailing time-lapse and finish this area off, get a couple more of our zonings in, and call it a day. And so I'm going to do that, and I'll show you the finished result. I'm really excited to play around with this tool a little bit more and see what we can kind of create. All right, there we are. So I could probably spend literally hours going through and extending surfaces and just kind of detailing this entire area forever and ever because there's just so many things to do with that tool. But I think we're going to leave it there and leave it a little bit simple. I went through and did a couple little bush linings here and there. I like how these came through in the centers. Since I didn't do all of them exactly the same way, like connected right to the back of one building all the way through, I'm not going to worry about it. It's fine. Imperfections are okay. But I think it looks really nice. I thought this was kind of cool to have some of the billboards kind of coming in, like on your way into town and in and out of town, just to see a billboard. I thought that was pretty realistic for, like, you know, this kind of area, something that you would see in real life. And I actually did discover that you actually can place the props in a line. So I managed to do that, thank God, because that would have taken me forever. And I managed to make a nice little fence going all the way back through here to separate from the railroad track so that people can't just like walk all, you know, like right on into there. So I'm really pleased with how that came out. And I think for the most part, we're doing okay. There's not a whole lot of warning signs. We have some high rent over here. And if we take a look at our land value, it looks like it's adjusted itself a little bit. So that is nice to see. The land value seems to have decreased in this area. So that's encouraging. So maybe as these buildings level up, those notifications will kind of go away. We did see a couple of them with our row houses in here, and those have already gone away. So that is encouraging to see. And I think next episode, we are going to focus a little bit more on bringing some more education into this side of the city, because we don't really have, other than we have a ton of elementary schools in our downtown, and we have, of course, the university over here, we are lacking some of those lower levels of education. Oh, and then, oh no, these were the ones I already saw. I was like, oh my gosh, did more pop up while I was talking? No, these were the ones that are right there. Anyway, because we are running low on education again, of course. So I believe we updated, or we added capacity to, let me just clear these guys out. This is a new one. What does this symbol mean? I think it is like collapsed. Yeah. It looks like they do fix themselves, but I think this area is, the reason why this keeps happening in this area is due to land value as well, because I think it's really high. No. So this has also been readjusted. So they are working on this issue. It is fixing itself a little bit, because this area used to be like as blue as the downtown, which seemed odd to me. And now this looks a lot more balanced. So that's nice to see as well. Our average land value has gone down by like $20,000, so that's interesting. Not really sure how that happened, but I'm okay with it. So I think we did add the capacity to our college. Yes, we did. We can add some to the high school while we're here. I think that might not be a bad idea. And so that kind of takes care of the capacity for the high school, but I think we're still going to build another one over here and kind of make a larger education complex out here. And we're going to only keep the one university, but we might add in a college, a high school, and an elementary school kind of in this area. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I don't want to make this area too desirable because I want to keep kind of flowing out of this area and into lower density and kind of have like a nice sprawling low density stuff going out in this direction. And I know that if we raise the land value too high by having all these services, it's going to create problems for us trying to do that. And so I want to try to avoid that as much as possible. But I think the city is shaping up pretty nicely. I do also want to revisit this area and kind of turn it into a European downtown. I haven't decided when we're going to do that, but I'm having a lot of fun over here, so we're just going to keep building out this area. But I do want to return to that. I just wanted to take a little bit of a break from doing downtown stuff after we built this massive one here. So, but otherwise, I think that will basically do it for today's episode. I want to, of course, thank everybody for tuning in. And if you liked the episode, feel free to leave a like below and let me know you enjoyed it. And if you are new here and you're checking the channel out and you liked what you saw, feel free to subscribe as well if you'd like to keep up on how the city grows and the rest of the content that I have coming to the channel. And also feel free to let me know what you guys think about the use of mods in this series. I think some of them are just basically essential and should have been in the base game to begin with. So I'm okay with using them in that regard, but I do want to keep it pretty lightly modded and quality of life kind of stuff only in this series. And I would love to do a highly modded series later in the future as more things come out and we kind of see what the future of mods looks like and how the paradox mods work and all that stuff in the future. But I've seen some incredible stuff that people have been doing with the mods, and I'm pretty eager to get into a little bit of it myself. I just want things to be a touch more stable before I go too nuts with them. Otherwise, yeah, just let me know how you feel about it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the build, what you think of the find stuff mod. I'm just remembering the one from City Skylines 1. Anyway, I'll leave you with your cinematics to enjoy. I'll shut up. And thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.